That would be much appreciated. I think me and Boss are just going to go back and forth. Please send a DM.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. I'm going to give a brief overview of what's going on here, and basically, it's this. Uh, the reason that Congress is fighting so hard against the CAT system is because it actually directly stops them from insider trading. And a lot of people are like, well, how can that be? It's because all of the information currently as it sits includes the identifying information of who purchased and who sold. And if they don't include that, then it'll pretty much it'll kneecap the CAT system, in the sense that right now they can see if, say, for example, I'm going to use a trader, and she's just a theoretical trader by the name of Nancy Pelosi. And let's say that this person is, by some magical, force, the best trader of all time and can turn $175,000 a year salary into, tens of millions and hundreds of millions of dollars. How can they do this? Well, of course, by insider trading. They get information from insiders, from lobbyists, and so on. And so let's say that there's an insider, and let's call him Bernie Madoff. And he tells one of his employees or one of his partners there about a merger. And then Nancy Pelosi hears from a lobbyist who heard it from their employee, who heard it from Bernie Madoff, about a potential merger that's coming up. And she then takes a long position on a company just days or even a couple of weeks prior to this happening. When the company files with the SEC Edgar system to do this merger, the SEC will already have all the data and showing exactly when, what, how Nancy Pelosi purchased these long calls or these long shares, thereby giving them an opportunity to say, okay, there's some real red flags here. We could potentially open up an investigation. We could potentially make this into a RICO case or even more. And that would greatly deter the ability and stop the ability for Congress to trade based on insider information. And as you guys can imagine, this doesn't sit too well with some of the fat cats on Congress that are constantly trading against us and using this kind of information. So that's just one way of many that the SEC would then be able to actually use the Department of Justice to go after, criminals both on Wall Street and sitting in Congress and in the government that consistently make ridiculous amounts of money off of these insider trades. Another thing would be that they would be able to track if, say, someone who works for a broker dealer or a market maker or a hedge fund was trading on a personal account on behalf of their company, and or if they were, say, spoofing with fake orders and such. So this would then give them the ability to trade on behalf of their company, and the SEC would not be able to do anything about it because they wouldn't know who was the person making the trade. They would just see it come by as numbers and symbols, and it wouldn't actually have any identifying information, which, as you can imagine, that's a huge conflict of interest. And like Kat was saying, they have literally been working on the Consolidated Audit Trail since 2010. It was issued in response to the 2008 Great Financial Crisis, in which banks had committed such ludicrous and ridiculous forms of over leveraging and manipulation, and then left the regular investors, retail investors, holding the bag through their pensions and 401ks and so on, and through the government bailouts and the printing of money that they did. And you and I still have to pay for that. We're already paying for that. We've been paying for that since 2008. And our kids and our children's children are going to continue to pay for that. So the Consolidated Audit Trail collects all of the information related to every trade, every share that trades on the market, period. It doesn't matter if it's a hedge fund, a market maker, if it's short exempt, if it's not, if it's breaking the regulations or it's not, and they can see who does it and why. So in the same sense, they would be able to track when people are, say, pumping and dumping the market. Like, as you guys know of the case that came up recently against guys like Zach Morris or whatever, that you may have seen him on Twitter as his handle, in which the SEC lost the case because they lacked sufficient evidence on their trades. if the CAT system had been implemented, they would have been able to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that these guys were manipulating markets. But again, because it wasn't implemented back then, they didn't have all of the exact information that they needed. So as you can see, these are just three really quick and simple scenarios in which the CAT system would have greatly helped stop naked shorting, stop pump and dumps, and stopped insider trading. So in my opinion, I'm 38 years old. I've been trading since before I was 18, to be honest with you. Since in my last 20 plus years of trading experience, this is the one and only thing that I have seen in the financial markets whatsoever that actually helps retail investors to a greater degree than 99.9% of people can actually comprehend. And because it's very complicated, it's hard to explain to people just why it's so important, because most people lose interest after about 3 minutes. But this is longer than a YouTube short. I can't watch this. I don't want to listen to this. What the fuck does this have to do with me? And so people move on, or they forget about it, or they think it doesn't matter to them. But literally, the House Appropriations Committee, Congress, is pushing regulations right now to eliminate the SEC Staff Accounting Bulletin number 121, which implements the harmful digital asset requirements. And in that same policy rider, they're including a prohibition to the SEC from implementing or collecting information related to the consolidated audit trail. Now, what that means is they can't implement or collect information related to the CAT system. So, and it's very similar to what they said with the IRS, right? Remember the government said, oh, well, we're hiring 87,000 new IRS workers, but none of them are coming after you. They're only going after people that make over like $3 million a year or whatever bullshit. And now we have the data, and over 65% of all cases being brought up by those new 87,000 IRS agents are people making under $150,000 a year. And that's the exact same fucking thing that Congress is trying to do now. They're saying, oh, well, it just means they can't collect your names and your personal data. But in reality, it's going to be a massive overstep that completely kneecaps the CAT system and prevents them from collecting any data that actually is worthwhile and can be, because the SEC is a civil company, right? They're a federal agency, but they can't bring criminal cases. They can only bring civil cases. And in order to bring civil cases, they need to refer it to the Department of Justice and the New York Attorney General of the Southern District. And in order to do so, they have to have some very concrete evidence, and that would be provided by the Consolidated Audit Trail. So we need to speak up and be really fucking loud and spam them with emails and calls and letters or whatever the hell else you possibly can, because the importance of this cannot be understated, and it cannot be overstated either. We could talk about this for hours, but we'll try to make it brief. And so we're trying to make it as understandable and digestible as possible. And so we definitely like to take questions from whoever has them, because I think that would be a much better way of us being able to actually answer questions that people may have that we do not know that you currently have. Because I understand it from basically, this is what it is. I'll explain it as simply as possible as well. The Consolidated Audit Trail is pretty much, think of it as a bloody finger, as like a fingerprint. And when every share is touched, when any share is touched, whether it's naked shorted or synthetic shorted, or it's rehypothecated, or it's borrowed 15 times by the same broker dealers and market makers and shorts, the SEC knows that for every single share. So they will be able to see one share go from one guy's hands to another, to another, to another, being shorted over and over and over again. And so what that will do is it will enable them to deter and actually stop market manipulation and naked shorting before it occurs, because these guys are going to be understanding that they could potentially receive massive fines, much bigger than ever before, and have their cases sent over to the Department of Justice for RICO investigation and prosecution, which are federal charges that could lead to serious racketeering prison time. This is the best thing that has happened to retail in 20 fucking years, second only to AMC and GameStop, in my opinion. So with that, I give it over to you, Kat. And if you guys have any questions, raise your hands. Let's talk about it. Throw whatever you guys have, theoreticals, questions, anything. But we have to fucking stand up, and we have to be loud, and we have to do something, and we have to continue to push and show these guys that we will tell everybody we know. We will be loud as hell about it, and we will fucking vote you out if you guys push this along, because they already did it with the Market Fairness Act in 2022. They already did it with the Short Selling Transparency Act in 2022. They got together along with Hester Pierce and these same Congress people, and they shut them down. So we didn't get the Market Fairness Act. We didn't get the Short Selling Transparency Act. And now they're trying to shut down the CAT system, which has already been implemented and has been proven in a single day of May. I believe it was like May 5th or May 1st. They found 17 billion shares worth of errors. Think about how large that number is. 17 billion. That's 17,000 millions. It's not, imagine how much $1 million is. Now imagine if you had 17,000 of those $1 million. That's how many share errors slash naked shorts were represented on that one day, which was May 1st of 2024 alone, between the equities and the options contracts combined. That's fucking huge. It's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous.
That's so big.
You're right.
So big. So there was two reasons why I wanted to hold this space was because one, people didn't know what to do to send out uh, an email. They wanted directions. They just didn't know what to do. So I wanted to get this space together so we could tell people how easy it is and how we can get it done easily. And number two was a lot of people were coming at me saying, it's over, we won. Like, there's no point in doing this. Of course there's a point. This is for transparency in the market. We're trying to make a change. This is, it's just frustrating, the mentality there. So I just wanted to get that point across, the urgency, and that we can come together, rally together, and put our emails and letters in. And it only takes 5 minutes. And wasn't
Yeah.
the SEC trying to get defunded as well?
Yeah, that's another thing. They're reducing, the SEC oversees hedge funds and family offices, broker dealers, prime brokerages, and so on. And they oversee tens of trillions, if not hundreds of trillions of dollars worth of trading and equities in markets, and including derivatives, of course, in the hundreds of trillions. And they only have a budget of $2.6 billion. And the Financial Services and General Government Bill is trying to reduce their budget by about 20 something percent, by over 20%. So from 2.6 billion to only 2 billion, that's a haircut of $589.3 million. But and that's 589 million below the request budgeted for 2025, and that's 144.3 million dollars below what they currently getting for 2024. The reason that the SEC struggles so much to enact change is because these pieces of shit at the hedge funds can pay the same attorneys and the same investigators and the same compliance officers that the SEC pays 150 to $250,000 a year. The hedge funds can pay them $1 million to $3 to $5 million a year. Who the hell wouldn't take a 500 to a 1,500% pay raise? Like, right, if you're making 150,000, you're pretty comfy. You work at the SEC, but it's pretty hard to turn down 1.5 million or 3 million from a hedge fund, for half the work when you're getting fucking shafted at the SEC, for only
And
150 or 250,000, right?
Tom Cole wanted to not disclose his contributions. Yeah, and
Oh,
Tom,
unbelievable, right?
yeah, that's insane. Bribe money. But
Imagine how much
I
actual
have a
bribe money there
question
is there.
here.
Yeah.
I have a question here from Lady Marmalade saying, when is the bill expected to go before Congress for vote?
You see, we don't know. Here's the thing is, the bill already went to, let me pull that up right now, just so that I can give you accurate information. But we don't have an exact date. The thing is that they've already kind of pushed it along and they've gotten approval to discuss it. And that's the first step. And that's terrible. That's terrible because you guys have seen that they've already done this in the past. They've already passed this on multiple occasions. And in May, I think it was like May 13th or something like that, just a couple of weeks after its implementation, they are discussing this legislation right now, and I've got it here now. And on actually it was May 16th, Representative Barry Loudermilk who introduced this bill in July of 2023. So this shows you how long they've been working on this. These guys have been getting paid by Virtue and Citadel and all these other market makers through special purpose acquisition. Not SPACs, but through the super PACs. Excuse me, through the super PACs that they can contribute to their they're basically their party, right? They can contribute to the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. And those same representatives that are getting millions upon millions of dollars, like Patrick McHenry and Bill Huizenga and Barry Loudermilk and French Hill, they're receiving massive amounts of money from the House Republicans in the Congressional Leadership Fund. They're trying to pass this, and they've been working on it since July of 2023. And we don't have an exact date on when it's going to come up for discussion, but it's already well underway. They've been working on it for a year. They have it passed as a co-sponsored bill called HR 4551, HR 4551. So that's not a good sign at all. It's coming faster. And here's the thing: is they have to do it before 60 days of the implementation of the CAT system. And it's already been about a month and a half. It's already been about 40, 45 days. So I wouldn't be surprised if they pull this up sometime in the next 2 weeks, because they've got to pass this through Congress and then the Senate and then over to Biden's desk, which a lot of people are like, oh, yeah, that's a lot. It might not happen. Maybe not. But they already did it with short selling transparency. So there's no guarantee they won't. They already kiboshed and shut down the Market Fairness Act. Both of these happened in 2022. So again, there's no guarantee that they won't. And regular, everyday people like you and I are the only ones, the people that are actually understanding of what's happening in the markets, because we're well invested in them, are the only ones that can actually explain this and share this to other people, because nobody knows this is happening. You guys are, when I say that I think that AMC and GameStop holders are going to be the new 1%, I fully mean that. And this is not financial advice, and I don't think that it only includes them, but I think that those two are very heavily shorted assets. And you guys are ahead of the vast majority of people around the world in your understanding of what's happening in financial markets, especially stocks. And because of that, we have to explain this to people that don't know that the CAT system even exists, or what the hell the CAT system is, or why it's important. And education is hard because entertainment is fun. Education is not always so fun. So we have to explain this to people, and we have to do everything we can to realize, like, hey, we're looking at a window of like less than 2 weeks here, and these fucking assholes are pushing this at a blazing pace, because this has to be basically vetoed during the 60-day window for comment by the SEC, which expires in a little over 2 weeks. So I don't have an exact date for you, but that's my answer.
If you guys, I have it up in the nest. The first one is a template that you can copy and paste. And then the next one is the link that you just put your zip code in, and it'll get you straight to your congressperson with an email underneath. And it takes less than 5 minutes. Go out there, send it, please, and make some noise. Another person has a question. 401 Doge. So, hi, question for the cat space. Is there an email we can CC in addition to emailing our reps? The concept being we compile a record count of all submissions. I think part of the success with the SEC comment period is that all of the submissions are on public record. Our reps delete our emails, take the lobbyist money, and vote against the cat anyways. I think it's advantageous for us to say, hey, there's thousands or hundreds of public submissions that were ignored.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. 401 Doge is always on it, this guy. I love it. We should absolutely be doing that. Excuse me. The commission adopted Rule 613 to create the consolidated audit trail that would allow regulators to efficiently and accurately track all activity through the U.S. markets and the NMS, National Market System Securities, and so on. And there is a comment period here, and I'm going to try to find it and pull it up right now. I'm looking for it as we speak. But yeah, if anybody finds that, if anybody finds it, 401 Doge or anybody else, send it our way right away so we can put it up in the nest and get people to go there as well. Because that would be helpful if people commented on the SEC website for it as well throughout the comment period. But I don't have another email address that we can include yet. But I would guess this, like anybody that you can get, any congressman, anyone on the House Appropriations Committee, anyone that is in the Senate even as well, because it also has to go to the Senate. So if we can find, like find my senators, that would actually be a great thing to do, contacting U.S. senators. And let me pull that.
Did I?
Yeah, I'll just put out a tweet right now that says, contact my senator.
Got it. I have one more question, and then we'll get to Anna. God's Gift says, I'm from New Jersey, and they don't got a Congress. He just died 2 weeks ago, and I can't get a new person. He's not appointed yet. I clicked the link sent weeks ago. What do I do from here?
You can email other Congress people. You can email Congress people from any state. It doesn't have to be just the one in your state, because they're all going to be looking at this and voting on this. So we need to reach out to the ones that may not be so in tune with what we need as people, right? Because they see it as guys like French Hill and Huizenga and Keith Self and Ralph Norman are over there just talking shit about the SEC and how this is going to steal people's personal information. But hedge funds and market makers are constantly stealing our information as it is. I would rather the information go to the SEC so they can actually send it to the DOJ to prosecute those people that need to be prosecuted, people that are breaking the law, that are manipulating markets and pumping and dumping. And so you can put in any random zip code or any city, state, and address. Or if you like, say, like Matt Gaetz, you look up Matt Gaetz's, contact information on there by inputting one of the zip codes in his state, for example, and then you can get his email address from there. And so you can send the same email at the same time. You could CC 10, 20, 30 different congressmen, whatever you want,
What
and put
about
out
the
tweets.
ones that were against the CAT system, the 37 representatives?
I think they should be included as well. But I think that it's more important to get all the other representatives to side with us, because these
Yeah,
assholes are obviously bought and paid for, right?
of course.
Like, we know this. It's the same exact guys. They voted against market fairness. They voted against the short selling transparency. And now they're voting against the CAT system, because just like Hester Pierce, they're bought and paid for. They're getting money from the hedge funds, think tanks like the Mercatus Center, and through the Republican Party is getting money through the Congressional Leadership Fund, super PACs supporting House Republicans, and guys like Patrick McHenry, for example, is ranked at Ken Griffin, is ranked at number two donor for these super PACs, and he donated over $66 million to Republicans last year.
And
So
how much does he pay Janet Yellen?
fuck, her speaking fees are through the roof.
That's
For
insane.
what, too?
For
Yeah.
what?
It's all a fucking, they're just washing money. They're bribing each other through these super PACs and through these business dealings and through these speeches, right? For absolutely nothing. Hey, Kat, can you see if those things actually got put up in the nest? Because I'm not seeing them up there, and I was just wondering if you could see what I tried to post
I
up
do.
top.
I see contact senator for the CAT system.
Okay, as long as you guys can see it, I don't care if I can't see it. But that's good.
Yeah, I see it.
Cool.
Anna, what questions do you have for?
I'm sorry. Hi. Yeah, my name is Anna. I have actually been working with Congress for about a year and a half. I've traveled 4 times. I'm an MMTLP investor to educate Congress, right? So I spent my own money going, and I've worked closely with Ralph Norman's office to, produce the letter. I see, 100's on here. He would be great to come up because he also helped, a lot with this question number 9, which was, what is the aggregated audited share count? And so also I work closely with Loudermilk's office. So to see these representatives that signed our open letter asking for transparency from our markets, to actually see that they're working against the CAT system now is beyond shocking. And I knew kind of the last time I was there, because I presented my TradeStation data showing that my shares are not backed by a physical certificate. I have since filed a lawsuit. I am Intercoastal Waterways LLC against TradeStation and Doe defendants, and FINRA is a nominal defendant in this. But what I've experienced over the past year and a half has, it needs to be called out. These Congress people need to be called into accountability. They don't work for the people. They are working strictly for their donors. All come in. That Ralph Norman, was our person pushing for this, and now we need to be letting their office know this is not okay. And I know you guys were talking about the Short Sale Transparency Act. I think it's HR 416. That was something I mentioned early on to Congress. Why can't we reinstate this now? Like, because it was tabled for a year. You could have them tabled for a year, but Congress is. They say they're going to do something, and then there's not follow through. Even Ralph Norman went on and he said, yeah, we're going to push for the subpoenas. Well, now they're just asking Gary Gensler. He put out a tweet last week saying, we want answers from the SEC. Well, they've had a year and a half to investigate this, and all of a sudden we're supposed to wait for the SEC to give us their answers on this, when Gary Gensler's been questioned twice in front of Congress and acts like he knows nothing about it. We have a FOIA showing that the SEC and FINRA knew that there was fraud on this, and yet they continue to allow us as retail investors to buy. So there is just, Congress needs to work for the people. I did put in the nest because early on, back in, I guess it was March or May, or I don't know, February of last year, I worked with coming up with this Anna Trade. So if you guys click on it, I did put it up in the nest, but it takes you, it's easy links to get your congressional offices. You can get your senators, your congressmen, you put and so you guys click on that link and it will take you to all the different offices that will help us with this. But this is a time for retail to unite. So we must make action. Please, guys, this is not a time. And that's how we were so successful with them in TLP. We made actions. We went by our congressional offices. Like I suggest, and that's how I got a call back after a couple months. I wasn't hearing back from my congressman's office. And I have two friends that one works as a lobbyist here in Georgia, and one lives in DC and, works for these super PACs, but they both told me, you have to go into the congressional offices, but you make contact and then you keep feeding them information. But also, if they're not helping us, we have to start calling these politicians out. Like, who do they work for? So that's my suggestion. How we've been successful with them in TLP is coming together as a community. I know Polte is now speaking out against it. There's a lot of people that we're gaining momentum with this Retail United and coming together, because really we're all under the umbrella of just fraud and manipulation, that we have been robbed, and we're tired of it. So please, guys, take action. Thank you, Kat, for this space and allowing me to have a mic, and Retail for Kat. I just started following you today, and I like your tweets so much. So thanks again.
I just want to say, Anna, I've been watching what you've been doing with MMTLP for quite a couple years now, and I am really impressed. And I can't believe I wasn't following you already, but I thought I was. So it's very nice to meet you. It's wonderful to speak with you, and to have you here with us is an honor. I'll be honest with you. So I thank you for all of your work for retail investors and for MMAT, Torchlight, and MMTLP holders, of course, because what happened there is a sick fucking crime, and it's shit like that that the Consolidated Audit Trail can help to stop, or at the very least mitigate. So while we still need them to fix what's going on, what happened with MMTLP, we don't know if that's actually ever going to happen, but we can keep pressuring them to do so, as well as we can stop it from happening again in the future. So that's part of why it's so extremely important for this. But again, thanks, Anna. You are absolutely wonderful, and I've seen the pictures and the videos of you at Congress, and I applaud you and say thank you from everybody here and everybody listening and watching this right now on YouTube and X and the Space Call and the other platforms. We appreciate you and thank you for spending your time and your money to do that, because I know it's not cheap and it's not easy.
Thank
Cheers.
you so much. I appreciate that. And just thanks for the space. It's so important that we continue to educate and come together and make these calls to Congress and call our representatives, hold them accountable.
I just wanted to mention something real quick, if possible.
Do it. You're up, YOLO.
So it's kind of been 3 years, and I've been calling Congress and already doing this. So I'm kind of like, I'm past this stage for that. So like, my buddy owns like a sign company. His family does. So like, I'm actually gonna go to the street. It seems like this internet shit. It's kind of like he mentioned. Like the people that are diverse in it are the people that are invested, and it's a small majority. And we're the only ones that understand it. And we kind of have to like get outside the algorithms. You know what I mean? Like we got to get the undereducated somehow that don't have internet. That we need to get louder than that. So that's just my opinion, and that's what I'm doing. So, cheers.
And I agree with you on that, man. We do have to get louder than that. We need to do more. People need to be more vocal, and we need to get this information out there in different ways. You know what I mean? The thing is that I'm limited in what I can do because I'm busy like everybody else. So, and you know what is, if I go out and stand on the street, no one's going to look at me. No one's going to listen to me. But if I'm here, there are over 100,000 people I can reach out to amongst Twitter and YouTube and the other platforms, and that's a start. So I think to everybody that doesn't have, hundred thousands of people that they can reach out to, I think it would be great for people to organize and to actually go out and do something. Like if we can get a crew in Washington, D.C., and get a crew in Chicago and get a crew in LA and wherever, Dallas and Texas,
Exactly. Maybe
and
a
meet up.
charity started. I'm willing to do this shit for free, no pay. If someone gets a charity started so that people that, need money that want to do this can actually get paid to do it, I think that's a great idea.
And that takes a lot of time and effort, and not one person can do that. And I'm out here constantly trying to make content to share the information with people, and I'm not the only one. I know a lot of other people are doing it. But if there are people out there that are willing to speak and willing to help and willing to meet up and even host 5 or 10 or 20 or 50 people, however many you can gather, to go downtown or to get a proper permit to protest in Washington, D.C., and Dallas, and Chicago, and so on, and other big major cities, and actually protest. Call your local news stations and have them come out and be like, hey, we're protesting over here because of this. We want to stop insider trading. We want to stop pump and dumps. We want to stop naked shorting and market manipulation. And these senators right here are literally trying to enable this. And the news will fucking come. If people do this, the news will show up and they will interview people. And even if it's a small crowd or 5 or 10 or 20, if we can somehow manage to get that happening in various cities at the same time, and if somebody else could take the time to actually organize it, by all means, I'll do everything I can to support it. And if someone does it here in Dallas, I'm about 30 minutes to an hour outside of Dallas. I'll drive and I'll go and I will fucking be there. I will be there with them and I will protest with them without question. But I can't be the only one, and can't be the only one. So if any of you out there are willing to do that, step up, reach out to us, be loud, be proud, and we will support you. We will magnify your voice as much as possible on all of these platforms, and we will do everything we can. If you can get other people to help to get the permits and everything, and then organize the date, time, we'll share the shit out of it, and I'll be there myself here at the Dallas area if anybody does this.
I live in
So
a good
just
tourist. I live in a good tourist
I
spot, so
remember
we
when
have millions of people that show up. So I'm gonna try to do something. I'll let you know how that goes this week.
I remember when it first started, everybody was making signs, put them over the freeways, was everywhere. Like it was wild. I mean, the grassroots thing does, work. I think it does get attention. And uh I think we definitely need to focus on sending, those emails and letters, as well as doing that as well. As long as we get loud and not be complacent
Yeah,
and not let it slip by.
I just
absolutely.
I just don't want the people overhearing that may not be on our side thinking that we're just going to sit here, make phone calls, make emails, and not get loud and not get actually physically in the streets about this, because we will, and it's going to happen. And I'm just going to, try to push that threshold a little sooner, because this is serious. Congress can't just be saying one thing and doing another, and it's been happening for 50 years. It's ridiculous. So.
I completely agree with you, man. That's why I say, like, shit, you can find me in the streets. You know what I mean? We may be having some brief issues with the space. Give me 1 second while I refresh here and see if we can hop back on it. Space may have crashed. There was a lot of people in it, but no, it looks like it's still up. I should be able to rejoin. So give me just 1 second, folks. It won't take long. But he's absolutely right. We need some people to step up and get this shit going in a variety of different places, like actual protests. It needs to happen, because there's a lot of people out there that don't use X or don't use YouTube, and they'd be more than willing to help and contribute and protest with us if only they knew about it. So yeah, I do think that it needs to happen at some point. I need to get back in this space call. How the hell that happened, I don't know. But it dumped me out. I'm rejoining right now, though. You know what? If you guys have any questions, drop them right now in the chat, and I'll ask them as soon as I get, because while I'm getting this open. I got it on my phone. Let me join in. That'll let you guys listen there as well.
Welcome back, Buff. 100, what do you got? I'm sorry, Elvis. I'll get back.
It's all good. I wanted to address a couple of things, but first, I wanted to give recognition to the AMC community, all of the hard work that they've been doing for the past few years.
I'm sorry, Elvis. I'll get back.
It's all good. I wanted to address a couple of things, but first, I wanted to give recognition to the AMC community and all of the hard work that they've been doing for the past few years, bringing awareness to the situation which we're here all today to help resolve. And I say that with great respect, because a lot of thoughts and ideas and direction did come from that community joining forces and merging their brain power, especially on the marketing and awareness aspect of things. So as a way of showing gratitude and also respect, I wanted to share something with you that Anna had planted a seed. She didn't go into great detail just yet. Not saying that she did it on purpose or not, but I just wanted to cover a gap that may help everybody here with this, messaging. And on the congressional side of it, what has been very helpful is that we followed a specific process, and it was given by direction of the powers that be within these representative houses, right, between the Senate and the legislatures. So in the House, I mean. So one of the things that we were instructed or given some guidance was to send our complaints to through the Consumer Protection Bureau, as well as send complaints, obviously, through the SEC. Now, understanding that there's a lot of corruption and mishandling of our grievances within that process, but officially, it's still recorded on the record, right? So it's very important, and it leads me to my next point, where if you look, and please correct me if I'm wrong, AMC is a Delaware company. Is that correct?
That is, they're based out of Kansas, as a matter of fact, but I think they may be incorporated in Delaware.
Okay, so incorporated in Delaware is subject to the state rules and regulations that are there. If I remember correctly, under Title 6, Subtitle 2, Section 2532, Subsection 4 identifies uses of deceptive representations of or designations of geographic origin in connection with goods or services. This is a complaint. This is an area of their law that you can use as a complaint to direct towards consumer protection, and then use that complaint toward the Attorney General's office and show that you have a grievance there, that you are receiving a failure in advertisement of prices per quote when a market maker produces the price quote, and that it is compromised because of the governing agencies and technology that's being used. So you can certainly make that complaint and use it towards your advantage while looking for alternative means, meaning like the street awareness campaign or somewhat of a protest. You can do both things at the same time and serve both purposes. So just putting it out there, and I'll post what it is just to give you some context. And Texas also has this on their books as well. So we're using this pathway in order to get to the state AG's office to make an impact. That's basically what I'm trying to share.
I think that's definitely a good idea. Right now, I don't know how to reach out to them. So if you have any contact information or somehow we can contact them, we can put it up in the top there for the people that use links as well. Right now, I think it's imperative to get this out there, though, to like congressmen and senators, and actually out in public. I know that it's a lot of work and it feels unappreciated by many, but you're literally doing these things, for future generations, for your kids, and so on. And this is more important than any of us. This is not about money. This is about the entire benefit for the future generations, not just their money, but their actual livelihood and their ability to invest in a market that's not constantly out there to step on their neck, that's not constantly trying to see them lose, because they're so enabled to lose right now. People are so enabled at eating losses because everything's getting front run, everything's getting manipulated through payment for order flow, through dark pools, through naked shorting, and nobody is actually going to take the time to do any of this stuff to make markets better. We have to do it for ourselves. That's the reason I'm so passionate about this, because I've been seeing this shit for my whole life, the way that these markets are completely fucking crooked. And that's why when I saw everything going on with AMC and GameStop, I thought to myself, you know what, one day in several years, this is going to crash the fucking financial sector. And a lot of people are going to lose significant amounts of money. Meanwhile, those that are properly hedged with these heavily shorted equities and investments are very likely to take billions and billions of dollars out of the hedge funds and the short family offices. But sadly, that money comes from teachers and firefighters and such. But we can only help them by letting them help themselves, by teaching them and educating them. Because we can't tell them what to do with their pensions or 401ks. We have to explain to them what's happening, explain to them how we can make it better, and then what they can do to protect themselves, because none of us can make a decision for anybody else financially. And all of this, in what we're doing, it's kind of like a roller coaster. You know what I mean? It takes a long time to get to the top, but once it starts coming over the top and peaking, it starts off very slow and then it speeds up faster and faster. And the more people we can get on this roller coaster, on this snowball rolling downhill, the bigger it's going to get. The more people are going to push the Congress and the senators and the attorney general's offices and so on to leave the consolidated audit trail alone, to give the SEC $2.6 billion so they can police hundreds of trillions of dollars in derivatives in the markets. So yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I would actually take it one step further, to your point. I would just say what we're really dealing with here is the restoration of the Republic of the United States of America, not just the financial system. It's synchronized. And all of our efforts, it is our responsibility to control and manage our own government through our representation, right? So yeah, I agree.
Anna, you can go ahead and speak if you've got
Oh,
your hand
thank
up.
you so much.
I just wanted to tell. Go ahead.
I appreciate it. Yeah, so you were saying you didn't know where to find certain things. Actually, in that Anna Trades, and guys, I didn't come up with this. I came up with the concept for the site to make it easy for people to take action. So within this site, you can reach out to the SEC, FINRA. It takes you to all the links on how to make a complaint. So it also takes you for consumer protection, the state AGs, like I said, your representatives. And what we have found to be most beneficial here is to create a dialogue with your representative, and this needs to happen quickly, guys, because time is ticking on the CAT system, right? So I think it's a great idea to plan rallies and things, but right now, if we have a 2 to 3 week window, we should be calling every single day to our congressional offices, and also calling these offices that are supporting it and letting them know that we do not, and ask and call them out on it. You put this letter out for MMTLP seeking transparency, then yet you're trying to take it away with the CAT system, where one time retail, we might actually have an advantage. We're never going to have full transparency because the crooks will always be running the markets. But at least our government officials are saying, okay, we're going to give you something, but they're taking it away from us, the ones that have been pretending to help us. So call your representatives, have them call that office, you call the office, send the emails. You will get all of that information within the Anna Trades site. And I just can't encourage every single person on this call. I think there's 500 people here to make this action every single day and make our voices heard. Um, and then also call out the politicians publicly, add them in the tweets. How can you do this to us? We represent the 99.5%. That's who we are. We are the people, and we deserve representation. And so I am with you all the way. Like, our nation, this is a national security risk. I didn't know any of this a year and a half ago. I just invested in a stock that they halted, and I lost a lot of money. And I was just really confused as to how this could happen. And I thought to myself, well, if I go to Congress, clearly they're going to see this evidence and want to fix it. Well, they have all this evidence, and yet they say, no, we can't really subpoena the SEC. That's just not done. And yet the people that are working in Congress, some of the, at the highest level, they've worked for Morgan Stanley before. So the gatekeepers here are really the issue. We need to have better representation in Congress. And so that's what we have to demand. So thanks again. Thanks again for the mic.
No, you're absolutely right, though. The SEC answers to Congress. Congress can kneecap the CAT system and kneecap the SEC and set the budget for the Securities Exchange Commission and hire and fire the commissioner like Gensler and the other board members like Hester Pierce and such. So they're the ones that put these people in power. They're the ones that pay them. They're the ones that direct them. And you're going to tell me that they can't give them $500 million, but they can send hundreds of billions of dollars to Ukraine? They can't, let this tiny organization with a $2 billion budget that is supposed to oversee hundreds of trillions of dollars in derivatives.
Could I mention something real
Unfucking
quick?
real. Absolutely, because I'm at a loss for words at how fucking criminal these
So,
pieces of shit are.
so,
We need to do something.
so when you mentioned Congress and Ukraine, it's because when they issued dollars to Ukraine, they gave it back to Congress. So I'm not
You're not a robot.
protest that, if Congress for us, it's just the excitement.
Was it just me, or did he sound like a robot?
Like a robot.
I couldn't
100.
understand
Yeah,
anything you
I'm
said.
losing. I'm losing. Sorry about that.
I think it
Sorry,
sounds
my
like,
man.
when you're in a bad spot, like it's in and out. So if there's a better spot to stand or something, closer to a router or out of the basement of your mom's house. Kidding.
Is this better?
Hey,
You
that's
guys hear
Yeah,
me
great.
get out of
now?
your mom's basement, bro. Come
Okay.
on.
So when you mentioned Congress and why they're not doing anything, it was funny because when Congress they issued tax dollars to Ukraine, Ukraine then gave it to FTX, which then FTX gave it to Congress. So unless we plan on doing something like that, I don't see change happen. Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep, we heard you that time, and we appreciate it.
So I guess I'll go. Boss, just so you know, you got people blocked, and when you co-host, they get booted out of the room. So I missed most of your stuff that you talked about, but I am following this closely. So I think it's awesome. I've said it to, I mean, this is a big room right now, so I'll just repeat myself that, I ran for office and it does count when you contact people. They actually do pay attention. So this stuff is important. And Kat, I'm not used to running spaces and I don't know what your rules are, but I popped something in the nest. I hope that's okay. It's Edward Brychek's post about the RFQ system. They have like literally Virtue has a RFQ hub, which if you remember, with the reporting system, the CAT reporting system, the extension was for the RFQs. And that's these are the off grid orders, dark pool stuff. That is happening, and it's actually, I didn't realize that they actually had a hub, like an electronic hub. So there's like a second set of books and stuff that is still not being monitored, and it's a big deal. So I would encourage you to also educate people on this when you do talk to your congress people or senators or whoever you're contacting. Of course, I'm in a different country, and I have a different angle I'm about to be working. But what I intend to do, especially since I have some some political people are aware of me. I plan to actually use my Facebook community group to describe what's happening in our markets here, so that and God, if everybody did that, if you all went to your local community pages on Facebook and made posts that are concise and easy to follow. Obviously you have to leave a lot out because it's taken forever to learn, but can you imagine if we all did that and explained it to each community? It's free. It's literally free. And you can access so millions of people, literally millions of people. So don't just stop with Congress, because the pressure they care about comes from external pressure. And it can't just be us. It has to be everybody. So if think about it, just consider it. That's all.
Thank you.
I appreciate you, Christina,
Same.
and sorry I
No,
had you
it's just because I
blocked.
said,
It is
I know
what
why
it is.
I think
I
you got
unblocked
frustrated. I've
you.
blocked a million people and unblocked people too. I'm not mad at you, boss, at all, and I respect you for so much of the work you do. It was just about the you were getting frustrated because people kept saying that they hide the FTDs and options, which they do. It's true, but I get where you were going too. I have a whole new, fresh respect for the whole gamma idea, and so back at you. Don't worry about it.
Cheers. Much respect.
Wow.
Hi, Kate. Thank you so much for everything you do, first of all. And I just wanted to share my thought, on this topic. So most of the retailers, yes, definitely they don't have knowledge about like what is cat and not you cat, but the cat. But like how does it work? What is the rule? What can I do about it? Right? So sharing this is definitely fantastic. Like, hey, this is the format. Just go there, fill in the blank, and beta baja mach chuka. Fill in the blank.
Make it
That was my little one. Fill in the blank and then send it to your congressman, right? That's amazing, and everybody, whoever can, they should definitely do that. However, one thing that I was a little bit concerned about was, like we are in this play for like 3 years or more than 3 years, right? Depend on like when somebody joined, but it's we have seen so many things in last 3 years, right? And we are getting fundamentally stronger. At least I'm from the AMC side, I'm saying, but we are getting better and
You got
better
it, brother.
fundamentally, right? And also, there's a roaring kitty coming. I don't know how it's gonna impact, but let's hope for the best. But what my concern was, like sending later, contacting the congressman by phone, amazing, absolutely. Every single person should do that, so they know like people are knowledgeable now, right? But being on the road for the protest, so for that one I had a little concern, because we are like the community is full of smart people, professional, and we learned a lot in last 3 years. If we are doing protest, and like the way they did in Delaware, right, like filing that case against AMC, they were literally holding only few shares, right? And they were still crying about it, like they were crying babies. So if there are some idiots who would be like holding only like 1, 2, 5, 10 shares, and they'll be like, I'm a shareholder, I'm gonna join the protest too, and then they do something stupid, and it makes the whole retail community look stupid, thinking like, and then all those idiots on the news channel, they are just waiting for that. They would be like, oh, so all the retailers, they did this, and then they were like doing this and that, and blah blah blah. So that's the only thing that I was thinking. Like sending letters, amazing. Calling them, absolutely awesome. Protest, and also I'm not here to tell anybody to do or not to do anything. It's a individual choice. But personally, I was seeing this concern. Like they can misuse that, and like, hey, you know what? Just go there, join their protest because you have 5 shares too, and then just be simply stupid. So, just my thought.
You know what, man? It's a valid concern, but that's what people have been saying for years now, right? People have been saying that for a year, like, oh, no protests, protesting is stupid, and protesting doesn't yield results, and it's going to, cause bad actors or like a January 6th situation and such. And while that's definitely a possibility, the fact of the matter remains that there's nothing more powerful than passersby that are driving or walking or taking the train, seeing a group of, hundreds of people protesting for a good cause, right? Protesting to save our 401ks, save our pensions, save our investments, save them from the naked shorting and the manipulation that's occurring on the markets every day. Because a lot of young people are too young to remember 2008. But a lot of people here were greatly affected by '08, 2000, and even some of you guys, 1987, and other market corrections that we've had since then. The reality is that there will always be bad actors, and we can't just cease to act because of fear of these bad actors. We still have to move forward. We still have to do everything we can to differentiate ourselves from everybody else who is just sitting at home and going about their 9 to 5 and can't be bothered about what's going on in financial markets because they either don't know better or they don't care. I think all of us here care more than the average person. And if the average person knew what we know, would feel exactly the same way. So we kind of have to educate them and at least give them a hint as to what they should be looking for. And some people that aren't on social media, a lot of people, they need that hint. They need to see people in the streets angry and upset, and in order for them to become aware that there's a serious issue that they don't know about. So I do agree with you in a way, but at the same time, I'm at the
Yeah,
point
it
where I'm
can.
like, enough's enough.
Yeah, it
We
can
need to
go
get the
both
fuck
way
out there,
actually, I guess.
I'd
Yeah, it
love
can go
to.
both ways.
Can I speak on that too before we move on from it? Because Mehul, I've been involved in protests since I was 17. You know that, uh, and I've been an organizer. I can't even like. I mean, probably well over 100 events. So if it's well organized, then you don't run into too many problems. And the best strategy that I've come across to prevent problems from happening is being very clear, repeating yourself multiple times to all the people involved that there will not be any kind of damage or destruction or violence tolerated, and having pairs of people that are identifiable with matching shirts or what have you, that are peacemakers, that are stationed throughout the crowds, and watch out for anything, and they can communicate via walkie-talkie. When we organize here, we organize, like, we make sure that it is fully structured. We have medics everywhere. We have people with water, handing them out, and granola bars, and like, we do a really good job because we've been doing it for a long time. But one of the biggest things is having those peace bearers there, to just de-escalate situations. And we have the kind of people in our we have every kind of person in our following that has been affected. And certainly, I'm sure there are probably police officers that would be willing to help. I certainly would be willing to help, and plenty of other people that are skilled in de-escalation tactics. So there's that. And the other thing you do is, at least I do, we do here, is we do it legally. We let the law enforcement know, hey, we're going to be here on this day, and take out insurance. Like, we go the full thing. We make sure that there's lots of notice and stuff, and we work together with law enforcement to ensure that they know that we are working with them and not against them, because that they are our best and last resort of controlling crowds, right? So if there is a problem issue that we aren't able to deal with them, they will be able to access the problem, but not blame all of us. They'll understand that it's not us. It's just a small amount of people that are troublemaking, and possibly sent there by a totally opposite force, right? So, because you get that too.
Yeah, I'm not against or with. It was just a concern, so
No, and it
just
should be a
wanted to share that.
concern. It's a valid concern, Mehul, and it definitely
Yeah.
needs to be talked about, right?
Yeah, and also, the reason why I had concern was like, the protest would be against those billionaires and some of the politicians, right? So if they are involved, there is a power and there is a money. So, that's why I don't know. I was thinking maybe too much, or I don't know. But like, is there possibility? Maybe,
At the
and
same
maybe
time,
not.
you're right.
If I can,
You're right.
yeah,
This could be a complete. This could be easily a protest against these pieces of shit in Congress, in the Senate, that don't give a shit about their constituents, about the American people. It's be a protest against those piece of shit billionaires out there that are manipulating markets, and those millionaire hedge funds that are out there trying to pump and dump and create situations in which they steal money from retail investors. There is an easy way for us to get a lot of eyes on a significant number of factors, so I do agree it's kind of a fucking pain in the ass, but I think it would be well worth it, and I'd love to spend at least one day, if not more, doing it. So if anybody wants to organize it, as long as you can understand how to get permits, how to speak to the police, and how to get with people, we will back you, as long as you're a legitimate person and not just somebody that is trying to cause problems, for sure.
I
Yeah,
appreciate once. If I can, I'm gonna hop in real quick and just say my piece.
yeah. Before you go, can I just thank Kat? Thank you so much for letting me speak, Kat. I'll go to listener.
Yeah, of course.
Anytime.
Oh, I thought you were asking to talk. It's like I would have muted. Blunts, I'm the swap guy in the community. I'm ASBT. We've talked before. I put two pins in the nest. One of them is to show that JP Morgan still owns everything with Washington Mutual and nothing was closed. The second pin, that's to show the mathematical situation that 2008 was never done. So what I was going to ask is, have you gone into the swaps with your followers to really explain how 2008 has turned into what it is now, and that things are not dealt with at all whatsoever? 2000,
Yeah, it's been a fun 3 years, my friend. We've covered every kind of derivative I can possibly think of. naturally, not everyone has seen every one of my
Oh,
videos,
no,
but you know how it
well,
goes,
you
man. Yeah, we've definitely been real heavy into discussing futures contracts and swaps and all sorts of other shit because, yeah, this is a lot bigger than AMC and GameStop. It's bigger than UBS and Credit Suisse and Archegos. This goes all the way back to 2008, all the way back to Bernie Madoff, all the way back to payment for order flow in the early 90s and so on, dude. It's fucking
been able
ridiculous.
to take
But yeah, I
all the way
appreciate you
back
sharing that for
to
sure.
1963 at the beginning of Bain, and I've been able to plot out Bain's
Hey,
investment strategy and
the beginning of ISDA.
yeah, the
Absolutely.
underwriters of what Salomon did in 1980, 1987, 1994, and then Lehman takes over with the mortgage-backed securities. Most people don't know that Salomon, while they were in the 80s, designed mortgage-backed securities and that Lehman designed how to collateralize them. But the connector in the GameStop shorts 2008 and everything that we just said is that Salomon, they turned into Travelers Group. They turned into Salomon Smith Barney. They turned into Citigroup. And guess who is really massively short GameStop? Now, when we look at what happened in 2008, there's a company called
City
Beach
Group.
Mortgage, right? The two Florida guys in the Big Short. And they're talking about how, like, yo, no, everything's in house rated. Our job is just to fucking get people signed up. And they weren't checking credit. And so what ended up happening is that all of these things are bundled with like insurance things and all of these other collateralized instruments to get bundled into a CDO. So it does affect pension funds through longevity swaps. It does affect all of these other categories. But 2 days before the whole market crashed in '08, something weird happened. JP Morgan bought the banking sector of Washington Mutual that pertained to Long Beach Mortgage, and then Warren Buffett invested $6 billion into JPM right before the market crashed. And so as we look at this, the Treasury shorts started in 2008 directly after that. And when we go 5 years later, you know, a decent credit default swap situation on an insurance company, it makes sense why we see Citadel and Ken Griffin and Citigroup. They both are there purchasing all of the meme stocks and creating the baskets. And then within a few months, Citigroup creates their first dark pool, City Match. 3 years later, we have the first Archegos bullet swap. Now, the scary thing is when we look at who's responsible for '08, the counterparty for Lehman, for that Washington, for the Long Beach mortgage, that was Credit Suisse, dog. So, and even if you take it back,
Damn fucking
the
right.
other underwriter besides GameStop or on GameStop, besides Salomon Smith Barney, who bought the other two underwriters at the GME IPO, is UBS Warburg. So it's an interesting conundrum to where we look at Credit Suisse, Archegos, and UBS, and they have long dated, deep rooted connections, not just going to 2008, but directly at the moment that GME was actually incepted. But wait, it doesn't stop there. This is stupid because GME wasn't incepted then. That we have GameStop Group Limited in Ireland filing for a mortgage with Henry Street in 1987, and that there's GameStop Group Limited in 1984. That's almost 20 years before it actually was formed. There's a really weird thing to look at the monopolization of the factors in each of the book, video game, and video store retail sectors. And that there's this weird thing going on, you know, because the underwriters the whole time, not just that they do IPO fraud on every fucking thing that they touch, that they're also involved with the mortgage state, the CDOs, the MBS, the asset backed securities to connect the insurers markets. And it's all very connected to keeping 2008 afloat. So those two posts, I didn't know if you had covered it, but I felt like I would just try my best to calmly put a shitload of data on the table just to say 2008 ain't done, you know? And when this all pops, I'm not sure how it unfolds correctly because I can't tell their counterparty agreements. Everything's exempt, you know? Uh, it's an interesting thing, but it sure seems to be aligned with when Archegos stopped rolling these out was when Ryan Cohen invested into GameStop. They were like, oh shit. And so we're now waiting on the bullet swaps to mature, but they stack them at a time where they all come due at the same time. And that's the scary thing
Yeah.
because if these all pop and they're connected to Credit
You make a great point, my man. And I'm glad you brought that up, because what you just gave a lot of people a history lesson that most people have no idea. Some people are going to think you're absolutely fucking crazy. Some people are going to think you're rambling, but I can attest that I know about 99% of the shit that he's talking about. And this guy knows exactly what the fuck he's talking about. And for those of you guys that are unaware, Citigroup, Solomon Brothers, those are the same piece of shits that were invested in and had offices in the World Trade Center on 9/11. They made a lot of money through their insurance policies, through the everything that happened on 9/11. This is more than just conspiracy. These are facts. There was a lot of data and documentation and paperwork that would implement Solomon Brothers, now known as Citigroup, in a shitload of fucking crimes in the World Trade Centers that no longer exist.
Every filing. Yeah,
I believe it, brother. Well, let's get a couple other people. I hope you understand. It's no disrespect, but we got 4 other hands up right now too,
so
my man.
When you talk about 2008, realize that before that, there was a gentleman named Bradley Manning who doxed a video called Collateral Damage, and he dropped it in the anonymous rooms to Julian Assange while everyone was still a thing. I was anon at that time, so when you say Occupy, I'm the internet half. And I'm blessed to have this conversation with you, Blunts. I greatly appreciate you, bro. I know half of your researchers. I love everybody, bro. Like, there's some real brains working on this shit. But in my Twitter page, if you want to point any of your friends, because I know we know a lot of people, just have them search my page for any keyword that we just said. I have 13,000 tweets. 12,000 of them are pure data cited and sourced. I have every Lehman filing relevant. And on top of that, if we're going to be a dickhead here, I'll put the nail in the coffin about what really collapses everything that Lehman not only issued, but underwrote. There was an offering in the 5th of November, 1999. It is the key in my Twitter profile. It's literally the key, because when the Archegos bullet swaps come due, they're going to bubble mortgage-backed securities, excuse me, because this is very, very relevant to everything that Credit Suisse was underwriter for, which includes the 2008 Michael Burry bets in The Big Short and in margin call. Now, unfortunately, if they go through a default, the key in my profile is technically a security, but it is formulated as a swap on the Dow index. So as the market crashes and goes to shit, this thing inflates in value. They're the counterparty, the agent, the underwriter, and the purchaser and seller. They over allotted it. It's set up like a bullet. There's no premium payments until full maturity. And it had a clause to where if there was a market event, it could be put on pause for 30 years. But upon maturity, it increases in value. After 4 years, it was worth 180% of itself. And they had to collect 115% of the offering. That's a nuclear implosion bomb. Period. 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 This will undo the entirety of everything that anybody knows.
That's amazing. Wow.
I'm glad you were here, Blunts. I've been trying to get a hold of you for a while, but I know that we're all in different sectors. They keep us apart. But I have...
Good person to get hold of. You're talking about Cat with Hat Dragon always talks about Archegos and everything tied to it. A brilliant, brilliant man.
I've been able to tie all of that not just to 08, but literally through Bain's actions and Barnes and Noble's actions. We can take it back all the way to 1994, where there are current 30-year mortgages issued by not just Solomon, but Lehman, and that's mortgage-backed and asset-backed. The problem is in 08, when they needed collateral, they backed all the CDOs with the commercial mortgage-backed securities. Only a fucking moron would do that. And that's why since 08, we've seen...
I know, it's fucking awful.
Yeah, we've seen commercial go to the moon. I literally was drinking coffee with my dad this morning while he gets a call from his insurance. They jacked up his premiums for $200 for no reason. He hasn't had a ticket in 25 years. We're gonna watch that happen to everybody, because the loan arrangements are bundled in the CDOs. The insurers markets instruments are bundled into the CDOs. They don't just.
And those same insurance companies are the next. They're next, man. People don't realize it. Right now, we're having banks, and we're going to have more banks collapse. And on top of that, we're going to have insurance companies are going to be the next to collapse right there. I discussed it with Dr. Marco Metzler, PhD economist. You know, the guy knows exactly what he's talking about. We did the research on Evergrande together, first separately, and then we put our heads together and came to some realizations that Evergrande was fucked, and so was the entire commercial real estate market. And guess what? Sure as shit, we were fucking right. And what you're bringing up now about the insurance is absolutely fucking right as well. And what's next is more bank collapses. Basel III regulations are going to fucking put another nail in their coffin. And then we're going to see insurance companies, State Farm and the like. You know, I can't say necessarily them, but State Farm is in very piss poor shape. You know, a lot of these companies are going to be doing the exact same thing. And they're all tied together. Commercial real estate, residential, mortgage-backed securities, collateral debt obligations, you know, CFDs, contract for differences, swaps, futures, bullet swaps, Archegos, Credit Suisse, UBS. It's a huge fucking chain of dominoes in the financial sector, without a
Because it
doubt.
has
Without a doubt.
leverage. I mean, essentially, you got to figure out in '94, the way that Salomon saved or was saved by Buffett was he used Allstate as the credit default swap. And then in 2008, he didn't use Allstate, he used his own insurance companies. 2015, here comes AXA Assurances, the world's largest insurance company. I know because of IFP Advisors, one of their subsidiaries. I doxed them on a huge, it's called life bonds, but essentially they're bonds that represent life insurance policies. And I wrote about it and doxed them a year before they got litigated in the SEC. And I didn't understand what it meant until I understood '08. So I dare say the hiccup that happened to Berkshire, that everybody's like, well, what? It's just a glitch? No, bro. It didn't have a halt because that wasn't at the market. That was affected by a level 2 or a level 3 swap that had a leveraging scheme on the stock price. But unfortunately, at the time of an Archegos bullet swap needing to be rolled out, according to my research, yeah, it takes a little bit for the filing to go through. So, is $180 really the Berkshire price, or is it 700,000? If it was at the market, it would have hit a lower up, lower down limit. That means this had to be affected at a stock price level by a swap which was existent in level 2 or level 3 markets. That when you say it so clearly and go, well, fuck, dog, these companies that he deals with are directly connected to '08. JPM is holding the mortgage bags because they didn't need to save the underwriter. They needed to save the banking operations to create a unified banking system called the central bank. It's what they're working on, digital dollar. So I dare present the idea that when we go ahead and intellectually talk about this from 72 to 79, which technically was 1980, 1987, 94, '01, '08, and 2015, and then technically GameStop, the only solid connector through this on almost every dot would be the Citigroup and their predecessors. And the only way that they were able to monopolize on the underwriters in the banking sector is because Bain and then ESL Investments afterwards, with in correlation with not just the insurers, but the mortgage companies, technically KKR and Vornado Realty, who bid on 1911, we can create a real pattern that this is possibly really engineered and architected.
So
Yeah, absolutely
100
right.
has had his hand up, guys, for a while. Just, I know I'm not running this space, but I just
No,
wanted to
thank you.
point
I'll
it out
shut
because
up.
always does talk quite a long time sometimes,
That was always all right. Just want
even though we love you.
I appreciate
Yeah.
you. I feel like there's not many times that I get to put the whole data set out, and each time that I do it, I get better at it. So I greatly appreciate you.
thanks
I
a lot,
don't
always
even
for
want
coming
him
out.
to stop. I don't even want always to stop. I want him to keep going. I just wanted to plant the seed of my previous conversation. Please return back to this conversation immediately because this is great. Um, I put the post up in the nest in regards to the references for consumer protection. Use those complaints for the AGs so that we can set off that process. Okay. Please return back to this conversation. It's so great. Thank you.
Thanks, 100. Hey, before we do that, can I just pop because it seems like I did miss the space. So it sounds to me like you're trying to organize. What is your timeline, boss?
Here's the thing is, in order for Congress to shut down the CAT system, they pretty much have to do it within the first 60-day comment window of implementation of the CAT system. In my opinion, that gives them about 2 weeks, give or take a few days, give about 2 weeks for them to actually push this and try to stop the CAT system in its tracks.
Okay, so you
So
guys,
we'll see.
this is time sensitive, right? So
Very much so.
So yeah, this is why I kind of wanted to bring it back to your purpose here, because otherwise we're gonna get mired in. I mean, we could talk for years about all kinds of things. So if people are interested in organizing, and I hear you mention that's pretty fast turnaround for something in person, mind you, you guys. If you live close to your, well, you're all in a constituency. I don't know what you call them, or riding a constituency, but you do have a local office for somebody, each of you does, to drop by there, certainly. But at the same time, maybe this needs to be more structured, like, I don't know if you guys would be willing or to create like a spreadsheet, and with people who trying to hit all of the ridings and all the key people, and designate it and make sure that they all hear from us, like get actually organized. Is that something you want to do?
We've got the information up there for Congress. We have too many different congressional members.
Right.
I would like everybody just to reach out to their congressmen, their senators, and any other ones that they feel able to. And just so you guys know, my phone's at 2% battery, even though it's on the charger.
Uh-oh.
So if it dies, I didn't leave you on purpose because I
Okay.
didn't want to listen to you. It's only because my phone is barely keeping up with the current status here.
I also have to go.
Okay, yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, if anybody does want to organize, just contact me privately in my DMs, because I will help you. I have a bit of time this week, so if you want me to put something together, then please just DM me and we can try and start tracking who's been contacted at least. But certainly, or if you have contacted your local politician, please, and believe me, go to both sides of the fence. Like if there's somebody that ran last time against the person but didn't get in, contact them too. It's also important. But let me know, and I'll start keeping track of the states that we've hit and see what we've missed, just to make sure everybody's up to speed. Okay, I'm happy to do that.
And like boss said, this is urgent. There's a 2-week window. So if you guys could take the 5 minutes and send that email out, it would be greatly appreciated. Our voices do matter. Let's make a difference, you guys. I'm signing off.
Thank you very much for that.
Kat, can I just chime in real quick on one thing? Because I know we were told that if it's a blanket email, and I love that you have written it out and everything, but if people can just add their like a bit of a personal story to it, edit it out a little bit so they're not getting the exact same letter from everyone. That's important. It was like a learning curve with MMTLP. So if you guys are able to, and seriously, walking your letter in, hand delivering it to your congressional offices, they're generally about 20 minutes from your home. If that's a possibility, I totally suggest doing that. I'm also going to look to see, what contacts I have in Congress so that I can get them to you, Kat. So maybe you can put that out there so that you can see, who to contact within those offices. So I'm just going to DM you on that as well and try to figure it out. I know that you can go to the sites that are in the Anna trades, and that's going to take you to, like up in the nest, it'll take you to your congressional offices for your the Senate and the House. But there are people who are within those offices that are handling the markets and directly. So if I will look for that and an easier way for you guys to get to the reps offices directly in those emails to the staffers within those offices.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, absolutely. I think we should probably.
All right, you guys. Thanks
pretty soon.
for.
Sorry, go ahead, Kat.
Oh, go ahead. I'm done. You're gonna die.
I wanted to say
I
the
mean,
same thing.
your battery.
It's barely keeping up, but I think we should wrap it up pretty soon because we don't want it to go too long because then people's just get, they get bored of it or their attention spans. So let's do another one here. I think in the very near future, if we can, maybe later this week, and just try to push as many people as possible to send the emails, make the calls, and if anybody wants to organize something in person, please reach out to Kat. I will try to help in whatever way possible, but if you reach out to Kat, I think that would be even better because I am swamped with everything that I am working on right now. And we will do everything to support you on social media, to get the word out, to get more people to join. And I will come out myself if I'm within a decent range. When we did when Kat here actually organized everything over in New York with I actually flew out there myself on my own dime from Chicago to New York just for that one day on Thanksgiving Day to be there to support and to help get the word out. And so I was glad to do that, and I will do everything I can, just like Anna has been going out there and speaking out for people in Congress and all of you that are here right now. So I would like to say thank you to everybody. Cheers. Fuck the system. Let's get our fucking money and stand the fuck up for what is yours, for what belongs to you. Because no